This word problem talks about the height of an object being dropped. Now, it even gives you the formula, it gives you the equation that we're going to be using here. This is based off of a physics equation. I'm going to make it nice and easy for you guys. Okay, I'm just going to give it to you nice and simply here. We say that h equals negative 16t squared plus 64. T, of course, is this number of seconds after it's dropped. The question wants to know, when will the object hit the ground? Understand when we talk about the height of an object, we're measuring the distance between the object and the ground. So like if I have this pen right here, it's 3 inches above the ground. This is when it hits the ground, right? How far above the ground is the marker?
3 inches.
This is 3 inches above the ground? When it hits the ground, how far above the ground is it? 0. When you land on the ground, what's the distance between you and the ground? 0. So it wants to know, when will the object hit the ground? It's looking for a specific moment in time when the object hits the ground, and that means that when the object hits the ground, its height is what? What did you just say it was?
0.
The height is 0. We're not talking about the height of the actual object, but we're talking about height in this case is the distance between the object and the ground. So if I know that the height needs to be 0, that means h, which represents my height, is going to be 0. So 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 64. This is an equation. The only variable I have here is t. And what does t represent? It's time measured in seconds. So when the question says, when will the object hit the ground? The question when is looking for time, right? So can I solve this guy?
Yeah.
How? Let's factor this. How do you factor this?
4.
X plus 8, x minus 8.
Number one, there's no x.
T, excuse me.
But-
It's saying x, T.
But number two, I can't factor this just yet. Did you look for a GCF?
4.
8.
If you take out 8, what would you have left?
16.
You'd have 2 and 8, right? So there'd still be another factor of 2. So a common factor is 16, but not just 16 though, Boris.
4.
It's negative because I lead with a negative. So if I take out the negative 16, I will have a positive t squared. What's a positive 64 divided by the negative 16? Negative 4. So now what we're trying to factor is t squared minus 4. 0 equals negative 16. How do you factor t squared minus 4?
T plus 2, T minus 2.
T plus 2 times t minus 2. So this means that t equals what? 2. Or t equals negative 2. What about the negative 16? Does that contribute to a solution? It doesn't have a variable connected to it, so it can't equal 0. So when will the object hit the ground? What would you say?
2.
What about this guy?
It's already on.
Huh?
He's under the ground.
T equals negative 2, so could you say the object hits the ground in negative 2 seconds? No, it doesn't make any sense, right? You're not going to be holding an object and say, you know what? 2 seconds ago, this puppy hit the ground. That doesn't make any sense. So we're not going to have negative time. And when I said this puppy, I'm not actually talking about dogs. It's just a nickname for an object, you know. I don't want you guys to think that I'm literally dropping puppies. So this means that what? If t equals 2, we know that the object will do what?
The ground, 2 seconds.
The object will hit the ground.
T minus 2 seconds.
Object will hit the ground in 2 seconds. Does that make sense? Does that feel about right? if you were to drop an object, hits the ground in 2 seconds. It's not going to hit in negative 2 seconds, right? No, because that would just be silly, right?